Hey there, pop music lovers, kick out the style, bring back the jam. And if you recognize those lyrics, you'll know what album we're going to be talking about today. And that is The Seeds of Love by Tears for Fears. In 1985, Tears for Fears were on the top of the charts and one of the biggest group of the 80s with songs like Shout and one of my favorite, Everybody Wants to Rule the World. Their record label wanted them to quickly follow up, probably with something similar, but Roland Orzabal and Kurt Smith wanted to do something very different. In the end, it took them 4 years, and it's rumored to have cost almost over £1 million to produce this album. Originally, they started working with the same producers that worked from songs from the Big Chairs, including Chris Hughes, and they went through a whole bunch of different producers. And at one point, they were asked to go see a small show. I think it was, actually, I'm not sure if it was in Seattle or Los Angeles, and they saw this woman, Oleta Adams, in this little nightclub singing these wonderful emotional songs, and it completely changed the type of music they wanted to do. They flew back home, they tried working again back on the album, and they realized it just wasn't working. They wanted Oleta, so they called her up. She didn't believe it was actually true what she was hearing. They flew down there and they met up with her and asked her if she would play and sing on some of the songs on the album. In the end, Oleta ended up doing a duet with them on the beautiful song Woman in Chains. She played piano, she sang on a few of the tracks, and she even toured with Tears for Fears. She opened up for them, and she was part of their band that year for the Seeds of Love tour. And they even helped her start her recording career. She had released a few albums on her own label, but she was signed to Fontana Mercury, which is, I think, the same label that Tears for Fears were on, and she released 2 or 3 albums, Rhythm of Love, which was the first album, and Evolution, and I had those back in the day. They were great albums, and it kind of started her career. But let's go back to Tears for Fears and The Seeds of Love. The album was released, and the first single, Sowing the Seeds of Love, was kind of a little bit of a departure from what they were doing. It was a very Beatles sounding album, and that's something that they were very conscious they wanted to do. This absolutely beautiful song, and the record label was happy. It went all the way up to number 2. It just couldn't dethrone Janet Jackson's Miss You Much, which was at the top of the charts. However, that was kind of the end of their imperial phase. They released 2 other singles, Woman in Chains, which didn't do very well, though it's absolutely brilliant song. And when that didn't do well, they released the Kurt Smith lead vocal, Advice for the Young at Heart, and that too didn't chart very well. I don't even think it even made it to the top 40 on either sides of the Atlantic. So that was kind of the end of Tears for Fears. However, this album, I don't think ever got its justice, and just a few weeks ago they released a complete box set and history of the album. You get 4 CDs and 1 Blu-ray disc that comes with it. And this is a nice box. It's not too big, nice to fit on any shelf. It comes with this really cool booklet. And all the interviews and the little introduction is written by Paul Sinclair. If you've never heard of Paul Sinclair, he has one of the coolest music sites on the web. And if you've never heard of it, superdeluxeedition.com. Go check it out. He is my first music site, my go-to music site when I want to find out what new releases are coming out, what albums are being remastered, specifically like box sets and special editions and stuff you might not just see in just sort of any shop or any store. He's really cool. He actually interviewed Tears for Fears. He's interviewed Dave Stewart of Eurythmics. Absolutely excellent site. I can't recommend it enough. If you want to know what's happening out there in like really cool music stuff, go check it out. And it's superdeluxeedition.com, and it's Paul Sinclair. And they produced this little booklet, and it's almost like reading a whole history of the album. He interviews everybody. He interviews Roland, Kurt. He interviews Oleta Adams, Chris Hughes, David Bascombe, who was sort of the engineer and producer for The Seeds of Love. Everybody, Nikki Holland, who co-wrote a lot of the songs with Roland. And a whole history, song by song, it sort of explains exactly how it was done. It's a very cool history. If ever you're interested in why this album took so long to make, what happened, how many producers they went through, and you get to hear it from sort of all different types of points of view. It's beautiful pictures. This looks almost like a sort of mini program booklet. It's super, super nice. And there is the amazing Oleta Adams. If you've never heard of Oleta, go check her out. Some people might remember she had a huge top 5 hit in the US and in the UK called Get Here. It was the Brenda Russell song. It was a huge hit for her. She's got a fantastic voice. She's incredible. She's a great songwriter. Go check out her albums. After the 3 albums she did with Mercury, I think she's kind of went on her own. But I think she's still releasing music, and she's a beautiful singer. If you like Anita Baker, I'm trying to think of who else would kind of sing like her, Sade, kind of in that vein, that sort of R&B jazz, go check out Oleta Adams. I saw her in concert with Kurt and Roland, and she's absolutely amazing. She changed the whole sound of the album. Originally, the album was not supposed to sound as jazzy or R&B, but Kurt and Roland wanted it to sound more authentic. They didn't want to keep working with synthesizers and sort of, the drum machines. They wanted real people working on it. And speaking of actually real people or real drummers, they couldn't get the drumming quite correct in Women in Chains. And it's actually Phil Collins who does the drumming on that. He's credited. He's not in the video, but that's him drumming. Apparently he came in an afternoon in the early morning, or I guess by noon, and he was gone by tea time. There it is. Really cool booklet, nice pictures. In this as well, you kind of get a little mini recreation of the tour program booklet that they had in 1989 when they toured with the Seeds of Love. Now, I was actually at that concert in Montreal, and this is the original booklet. Here it is, and they've recreated this kind of mini one. It's really nice. It looks pretty much exactly the same. Super cool. Just sort of like a mini version. And this is the original one. Now, it doesn't have the sort of vellum sheets that are separate a few of the pages inside here. However, everything else is the same, with the exception of an ad that they didn't reprint. So there's one of those vellum sheets that you're not going to see. But here's the original booklet. This is a fabulous concert. It's one of the only shows I went to go see with my friend Andrew. We grew up together, but for some reason we didn't go see many concerts together. But we did go see Tears for Fears. And it's a lot of fun. This is the one ad here. I guess it's for Philips or compact disc. Yeah, Philips, which is not in here. I could understand why they took that part out, but still cool. The colors are pretty nice in both. The original program booklet, the colors are a little bit more saturated, but it's kind of understanding taking these older files and reproducing them. They're still beautiful and clear, and it has this beautiful glossy sheen to the pages. Very pretty. So now we get to the main part of the box set, the more important part, let's be honest, the music. However, I do love graphic design, and I love the way the rest of it was sort of produced. But what you get here is 5 discs. You get 4 CDs and 1 Blu-ray. So it starts off with just the album, and again, some nice design. This one is just called The Seeds of Love. There we go. Kind of the disc matches the cover. And this is just the original album from 1989. And when I put it on, I started to listen to it, and I was like, wow, this sounds amazing. This new mix, this is incredible. And then I realized I wasn't listening to the new mix. I was listening to the original album. Back in the day, I had the cassettes, and I used to have a Walkman. I had a stereo player, and I'd play it on there too. But, cassettes don't really sound great, in my opinion. I don't find that. I didn't realize how well produced this album is. It sounds absolutely fabulous, and that's just with the original version. On the second disc, actually for the next 4 discs, they went with the 4 elements. So here we got, well, not exactly the 4 elements, but the sun, which is one of the images on the graphics. And what you get here are the B-sides and the 45s. And there's the disc. Very cool. And there's some really neat stuff on here. There was some stuff I hadn't seen because I never got the singles. There's Johnny Panic and the Table of Dreams, which is kind of strange song, and I'm still not sure who's singing on it, but it's kind of like an interpretation of Sowing the Seeds of Love, but there's this person sort of rapping it, and it completely changes the style of the song. It does not sound like a Beatles song anymore. It's very cool. There's The Year of the Knife. This is interesting. They never had an official fourth single from the album. They had Sowing the Seeds of Love. The second song was Woman in Chains, and then they had Advice for the Young at Heart. And I think the record label did release the last song, Famous Last Words, without them. They just kind of put it out there. However, there was going to be an official fourth single from the group, and it was called A Year of the Knife. And they actually did a Canadian version. There's actually a Canadian single edit of the song, which I never heard of. I didn't even realize that. And it's kind of cool. It's on here, kind of has a bit of a rock vibe. There's another version. There's so many different versions of each song. There's another version of Year of the Knife, which is just called The Mix, and it's on one of the demo CDs. And I don't know, I kind of prefer that better. There's a lot of cool stuff here that when you put it all together, you can see how Tears for Fears put this album. So that was the sun. Then we move on to the moon, which is the next CD here. There you go. It's got the same symbol. And on this, I believe you have all the, a lot of the demos. There's alternate takes, instrumentals, there's radio mixes, interesting stuff to see how they work the song. Woman in Chains originally was produced by different producers, and I believe that as well is on here. We get to the next CD, which is The Winds. This one is super interesting, probably one of my favorites. Some nice graphics here too. There we go. And what you get here is their demo to Rhythm of Life, which is a song that they gave to Alita Adams. It was part of her album. You get all the Townhouse Jam sessions that they did. Tears for Fears got together with Alita Adams and a few other players and producers, and they just went and they jammed through all the songs. There's like no overdubs. You hear them talking or laughing. Everything is in there. They haven't like touched it all up. It's very interesting to see how the songs kind of organically became or changed throughout the making of this album. And then there's the part which probably most people were waiting for. Now, unfortunately, I do not have a Blu-ray player right now, and I've been trying to figure out how I'm going to, when I get one, how to connect it to my stereo system. So I was not able to listen to it, but from what I've heard from the reviews is that the 5.1, this disc is actually called The Rain. This is the 5.1 new mix by Steve Wilson. Apparently it is absolutely incredible. So you get his mix. You get the, there's actually 3 versions of the album on here. You get his new mix, his new 5.1 surround sound version. Then you get, I think, the 2015 remaster and the original album, all in like high-res Blu-ray. There you go. Super cool. Sowing the Seeds of Love. I think it's a great album. Reading through some of the liner notes, I could tell that Kurt and Roland didn't exactly love the album. Kurt decided once the album was finished, he told Roland that he was leaving Tears for Fears. He actually did that just before they went on tour, and he says now he kind of regrets saying it too early. And they did go on tour, and then they finished it off, and that was kind of it for quite a few years. They didn't talk for a while. They are back together, which is kind of cool. But I wanted to show one more thing. I had the cassette, but one of the things I loved buying was 12-inch vinyl singles back in the day. And I came across this, and it's too bad that the packaging got destroyed. I don't know how. But they put out kind of this little box called the Seeds of Love Collection. Now, I don't know what happened, if there was water damage. I don't know why I put tape on here. I have no clue. It was a box that opens up, and in it was the 12-inch single to Sowing the Seeds of Love, and the vinyl is in perfect condition. I still have the plastic on it. Really cool. There's the vinyl record. It has Sowing the Seeds of Love. It has Tears Roll Down, which was an extra track they actually used for their greatest hits. It's on here, and a US remix of Shout. But also in here you got a special lithograph, and I think some of them you didn't know which one you were going to get. You were either going to get Roland or Kurt. And I actually got Kurt's image. It's not bad. It's yellowed a little bit, but it's quite beautiful. I just wish the box was in better condition, but I thought this was actually kind of neat. So that's it. If you're interested, go out and get the box set. If not, you can get the 2 CD edition, and it's not very expensive. And let me know, are you a fan of Tears for Fears? What is your favorite Tears for Fears song? What is your favorite album? Is it The Hurting? Is it songs from The Big Share? Is it The Seeds of Love? Do you like the 2 or 3 albums that Roland did sort of kind of solo? Actually, one of my favorite Tears for Fears album is Everybody, God, I'm going to get the name wrong. Everybody Loves a Happy Ending. I think that's the name of the album. In 2004, Kurt and Roland got back together, and they've remained friends since then. And they put out this absolutely fabulous album. I believe there's at least 12 or 14 tracks on the album, unlike their earlier work, which only has 8 tracks. And if you like them, go out, check out that album. It wasn't huge. It didn't get a lot of like airplay, or I don't think it's a very well-known album. I really suggest it. If you're a fan of Tears for Fears, I think some of their best material is on that album. So that's it for now. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that bell. I don't have too many subscribers right now, but it would be kind of cool if I can get up to 1,000 at one point. So that's about it, and I hope to hear from you soon. Ciao.